Hey polish fans, it's Caroline again and welcome to another video here at Wild Wind Lacquer. In today's video we are continuing on with part 2 of my organization of my huge collection. My official number as entered into my nail polish app is nearing about 5,000 I believe, and I also still have the polish from that huge estate haul of over 2,000 nail polishes. Now those are not going to be included in this portion of my organizing because those haven't officially been added to my nail polish collection just yet. I'm still going through the comparisons and all of that. This is my current collection and I am in the midst of organizing this into the Helmers. I recently built 6 Helmers and that is going to be part of the way that I organize the collection and store them. It's not my favorite, but it is efficient, it's effective, it gets the job done. I'll also still be keeping some acrylic racks and some wall hanging racks, so there's going to be a mix of different ways of having them available. But today we are going through E through H. Now this segment of the collection is not all that large, honestly. There's a lot more that is not actually down here because my Emily DeMolly is actually, my Emily DeMolly and Glam Polish are up there. So those will probably both maintain having their own section either up there where they are, or maybe each will have their own shelf, but that's where a huge portion of that section of the alphabet is for my collection, Emily DeMolly and Glam Polish. I do have some Hollow Taco that probably needs to get taken down from this rack. So Elevation Polish and Frenzy and Fancy Gloss and Essence, so all of those technically need to be taken down into the organization part. So I think I'll start with that. I'll take down anything left over on these shelves that is E through H. That's also probably going to have some maybe over there. Actually don't know what all I have miscellaneous wise, but there might even be some in the drawers. So I will start there and then we'll come back and start sorting and organizing these into their individual drawers. If this portion takes as little time as I think it might, we might actually start with I through L. So let's go ahead and get started. I remembered I had hair polish and more colors by Row in one of my other drawers. Okay, so I pulled some more from the other little drawers that I had in the storage area that I have over there. I had more Great Lakes lacquer stored in there. I had my Enchanted stored in there. I also had a lot of my Garden Path lacquer, aka Lollipop Posse lacquer, stored in there. So I took out all of those that were in the drawer And now I already started sorting out the other polishes that I had taken out that you saw me take off of the shelves. And I think I don't have enough room. I know I don't have enough room. So what I'm gonna do is just start with the E's and F's and leave the G's and the H's for the round 2. Ethereal is another one of those big brands that I have. So that I actually have an entire tray of my E's. So that's also probably, I'm gonna have to see if it's gonna fit in a drawer or not. So we had to shift over because we are on the last 2 Helmers on this wall. I do have one more Helmer underneath my filming station. So after that, we will move to that one. But we are finishing up putting away the Fs. All right, now we're going to start I through L. Okay, so that is what we have for I and J. And in fact, we're missing a lot of my juleps because this is how I've been storing them. They are unusual bottles and they really easily tip over. So I've been using these little acrylic lipstick racks. I think I got them on Temu. They fit the bottles nicely and keep them upright. I think that's how I'm going to go ahead and keep the juleps. That way they aren't knocking around in a Helmer. I'll just set them out on one of these. So that's where those will go. So another brand that gets its own acrylic rack is Illyrian. That is one of the first brands that I discovered early on in my indie collecting. So all of the ones that I just sorted from Illyrian are gonna go back up here. So for a few of the brands that have changed names, for example, Lurid Lacquer and Kale Polish, I'm going to be storing those together in the same drawer, usually under the latest brand letter. For instance, Lurid Lacquer and Kale Polish will be in L for Lurid Lacquer. Garden Path Lacquer and Lollipop will be in G for Garden Path. I know I have more Lurid Lacquer and I know I have more Kale Polish, and I do not know where those are right now. I had them up on one of my shelves. I know I took them down when I was beginning this whole process, and they're not around. So we'll have to put the rest of those there when I find them. So I found the Lurid Lacquer and Kale Polish that I was looking for. It was in a box underneath more boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and move those into their drawer. And that wraps up the last of the Helmers on this wall. So 5 Helmers down. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is how the Helmers will stay as far as what is in each drawer and all of that, but we are dwindling down to just the last bit of L, and the last brand to find a drawer is my Linby Designs. I did go into the other room that I had more polish stored in and grabbed the drawer that I had some of my other Linby Designs. In fact, most of the Linby Designs as I found them were put in this drawer. So they're going to get the first drawer in the last Helmer. Alright, so that wraps up part 2. Let's see, through the first part we did A through D. So this time we are going to look at what I did for E through L. We had quite the bigger chunk. So we are going to start with E. I've got my EDK, Elevation, and Miscellaneous E's here. So I have my EDKs, which I think has a few different bottle styles. I have Elevation, Elegy, Ella and Mila. I have Essence, which also has a few variations in bottle styles. I have Envy Lacquer. I have Ember. I think that's one of my only bottles from that brand as well. Echoes, again, another brand that I think this is my only bottle of. I actually don't even remember if I got that in a mystery box or a D-stash or what the case was. Emerald and Ash, Exotic Lacquers, and a couple of El Corazones. I know I have more in my collection. You may have seen those if you watched the sorting video of my Keepsies pile. I know I have more. Those were just the ones that I was able to add so far. Then I have Enchanted and Ever After. I have all of my Enchanteds on one side, and then I have my Ever Afters over here. Not too many from that brand. Then I have Essie, and Essie, as you can imagine, has its own drawer, which I think is stuffed absolutely full. I think I might be able to put 1 or 2 polishes in there, but not a lot of room. As with my entire collection, I do need to go through that and see if I can't de-stash any. Then onto our Fs. So in F, I've got Fair Maiden and Fancy Glosses. Both of those brands are ones that I have a fair chunk of. The Fair Maiden actually has a couple of different kinds of bottles. So you've got their older square bottles, and then you have some in their newer round bottles. I say newer, I should say latest, or what they did towards the end was round bottles. Fair Maiden is the brand that split. It was two people that did the brand, and they split into Beau Revs and Monarch Lacquer. And then I've got the Fancy Gloss. Fancy Gloss is the rest of them that have that sort of a almost squared lid there, or cap I should say. Then F, this is just my miscellaneous. So I've got this one, I still don't know what brand that is, FSMF. I've got, I think, one of the very few fun lacquers that I have. I think that's Sappheiros. And I've got my funky fingers and finger paints and fan chromatic nails and frenzy polish and more frenzy polish. So they also had a couple of different label changes there. But as you can see, there's a lot of room in the Fs, but we'll see if I do have to end up coming back and sort of consolidating, but I might end up consolidating here once I get finished with this one, because honestly, we're going to start M through P. And I mean, look at that stack. That is not going to fit in just 5 drawers of a Helmer. It's not. And that's not even the biggest chunk. The bigger chunk is the thing behind it, which has Q through T. It's that, as well as all of that. So there's a lot of that. I know I'm not going to have enough room in the one Helmer that I have left. Now I probably will be reusing that little thing. It's a little 4-drawer cardboard storage unit, basically a cardboard version of a Helmer. It just isn't much to look at, but I probably will be reusing that for the time being once we get that far and fill up those other drawers. Now, these were my first attempt. If you're new to my nail polish realm, my room, this was one of the first things that I got, and they were free. The whole set was actually free on Facebook Marketplace. So you have the 2 upper cabinets, you have the desk top, which spans the length of it, and then you have these 2 stacks of drawers. Well, I thought that they were ones that would work for me, but if you look closely, that's 1 drawer. So it is much deeper than necessary. Even if it was split in half, it would be deeper than necessary for nail polish. But currently I'm just using those on both ends for just regular storage of things. This was my second attempt. I actually got 2 of these after thoroughly studying a number of dresser options online to try to find a different option than going with the metal Helmers. However, these, a lot of them are currently full of bubble wrap. While they fit nicely, they sag. That was the biggest problem with them, is the bottoms of them are not very strong, and they pretty easily and quickly began to sag when I started to fill them up. So I still have the 2 of them, but what I've been doing with them since I moved them into this room, my nail polish room, is using them for my eBay selling, basically packaging storage. So bubble wrap, styrofoam, things like that. So we'll see if I end up kind of utilizing those a little bit better. I might be able to use the bottom drawers since they would have the ground below them to help them not sag, but anyways, I digress. That's where we're at so far. Back to what I already have in the drawers. That was a random F. We have Femme Fatale with their own drawer. They were actually one of the earliest brands. There's a handful of early brands that I discovered in my nail polish journey, if you will, and Femme Fatale was one of them. There was Femme Fatale, Bee's Knees Lacquer, Illyrian, but yeah, so it's one of them. It's one of the brands, and I do have a few of them and a couple in boxes still, and then at some point I did end up with at least one of their older square bottles. So that was Femme Fatale. Then G and H, my miscellaneous G and H is stuffed into one drawer. I have Geekish Glitter, which also has a couple of different bottle styles. I have more Geekish Glitter, all the way back to one random bottle of Geeky Bee's Nail Color. I think that one came to me in a mystery box. I've got H&M Glitter Days, Glam Paint, not to be confused with Glam Polish, Grim and Glamorous. I think this is the only bottle that I have from them. They're also a brand that doesn't make polish anymore. I think if I'm remembering correctly, they are still making their other cosmetics, but just not the nail polish. A couple of Graceful bottles. I have a couple of hard candies. One random bottle of like Heart and Glass, which I think I found at Grocery Outlet years ago. Honey Bunny Lacquer, I think a lone bottle. I think again that came to me in a mystery box. Hula Moon, Heather's Hues. There are a few of those, I think, over here. Yeah, so there's a couple of variations of their lids as well. Hair polish, I have a few of those. That's a brand that I, again, did not discover until after they had stopped making polish, but they are a classic OG indie polish maker. And then I have my Holo Tacos here at the end. I actually don't have that many from Holo Taco, but I did get, again, a couple in a mystery box. This one is Midnight Spark, and it is beautiful. Then I have Garden Path and Lollipop in their drawer together. For brands like this, I think I mentioned it earlier in this section of the video, but for brands that it's the same maker that just rebranded. So I have Garden Path Lacquer in the same drawer as my Lollipop Posse Lacquer. For me, that just makes sense because even though alphabetically it's not where it belongs, it just makes sense to me. I don't know. Let me know if that makes sense to anybody else. As you can see, there is still room in that drawer. Then I've got Girly Bits, Great Lakes Lacquer, and Glisten and Glow. That one is full, almost to capacity. Great Lakes Lacquer is one of the brands that I have quite a lot of. You can pretty easily tell from their bottle shape, because as far as at least the ones that I've had from them, they've had the same oval bottle. Then the Glisten and Glows, those I think are these here. And then the other two rows are my Girly Bits. So I have quite a few from each of those brands as well. Then we've got my miscellaneous I's and J's. This is another drawer that is pretty full. I've got Ice Cream Nails, Indigo Bananas, I Am Custom Color, which I actually have no idea if they're still making polish anymore. One from Claire's or Icing, I think Icing by Claire's, so Icing, IBD. I've got some from Inspirations. It's another company that doesn't do polish anymore. A random bottle of Island Girl, Jessica, Jordana, Jen and Berries. I think that is one of the most brands that I have in my J's. Then I have some Jessie's Girl. I have some Jindy Nails. And then the other brand that I have quite a lot of in this drawer is from J-Ren, and then one random bottle from Gior Couture. Then I've got my K's, Kathleen & Co., Kiss, Koki, and a few other K's. Koki, I think, as well as Kathleen & Co. are two of the bigger brands in this drawer, as well as Clean Color. That's an inexpensive brand that I got years ago on eBay. And then Crucible Designs, and one KPT. Now, I did get quite a few from this brand in the huge estate haul as well, so that should fill up once I decide which ones of those I'm keeping. Then LA Colors has its own drawer. Yeah, I have way more of those than I thought I would. But yeah, they're inexpensive. They were one of the mainstream brands that I'm pretty sure I was buying years before I discovered indies. So I have quite a few of those. Then I have my L Miscellaneous leading into Lights Lacquer and Kale Polish, another brand that I am packaging in their own drawer together since they are the same maker. So I have Lights Lacquer mixed in with my KL polishes. Somewhere. There we go, there's a KL polish. So KL mixed in there with my Lights Lacquer. I have the Lady Varnishes. For this one, I am disregarding the word the and just doing Lady Varnishes. Then I've got Lancaster and Level Up. And a couple randoms like a Leighton Denny that I got in the mystery box. a Lauren B, and Lacquered Up, as well as Lacquers in the Air. Then I've got Leisha's Lacquer, Lemming Lacquer, and Lily Pad Lacquer. So Leisha's is over here. I have one like half-sized row from that brand. Then I have Lemming Lacquer. That I do have a couple of different bottle styles. So I think this one was the style that they were using when I discovered them. And then in recent years, they switched to the square bottles. Then we have Lily Pad Lacquer, which has gone through a couple of variations of bottle styles. So we have the larger round ones. We have this style here, which is kind of like a rounded square with a little frog on the cap. And we also have this one as well. Then I have Literary Lacquer, L'Oreal, and more miscellaneous L's. So Literary, more Literary. I actually had more L'Oreals than I thought I did. Then we have Luna Lacquer. I know I have more of those somewhere. One Lumen. Again, I know I have more of those. I have Lucky 13. Again, I know I have more of those. Love Angeline's. One from Louise. This is another brand that came to me in a mystery box. We have Liquid Sky Lacquer. Lacquer by London Town. And Loud Lacquer. I think that's one of my only bottles from that brand. And then my Lindarella's. Oh, and then Lovely Lacquer. And then last but not least in my E through L's is Linby Designs. And they have been one of the biggest brands for me as well. I actually have almost an entire drawer. I do need to go through these, as I've been saying with all of my polishes. At this point, you're probably tired of hearing it, but I need to see if I can destash any of these. There we have it. That was part 2, rather long section of my organizing series. Make sure to come back for part 3. We're going to start M through P. That I think is going to be its own section because, as you can see, there's a lot to go over. So that's going to wrap it up for part 2. As always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully you had a good time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in that next one.